Ball.
Present.
Mr. Curry.
Here.
Mr. Koser.
Here.
Sorry. Mr. Berquist.
Here. I'm here twice.
You're here twice. Mr. Lewis.
I am here once.
Guys, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. First item is the approval of the minutes. The first item being the transcript of the public hearing from March 22.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next item is approval of the minutes of the council meeting held on April 12th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, special reports. There being none, we move to audience comments. Audience comments, we're still under the COVID regime, so anybody that has a comment can send it in to Tom, and I believe we have two.
But you have one for me to read. You also have an audience member here
Okay,
tonight.
well then,
Okay.
why don't we read the first item and then we'll let our audience.
So this comment is from William and Lucy Shope of 106 Pine Oak Court. Since we are unable to attend the meeting, we are sending our comments for council's response. We have reviewed the renderings and documents regarding the proposal for the Rolling Hills Aquatic Center as found on the Peters Township website. It certainly is enticing. While the recreation and entertainment value of the Aquatic Center has been described in the planning documents, a project of this magnitude demands critical analysis with respect to its effect on the community at large, specifically ensuring council and management have the financial resources to meet the ongoing fundamental needs of the community and confirming the community's desire and ability to pay for this center for years to come. The consultant made two relevant observations, and this is a quote from that report. The population base in the immediate service area, Peters Township, is approximately 22,500, which is adequate to support only a smaller community-based public pool. Approximately 16% of the population in Peters Township region participates in aquatic activities. These conclusions was that Peters Township would be highly dependent on the surrounding communities in order for the center to cover operating costs. Clearly, taxpayers of Peters Township are taking all the risk for this venture. All residents pay to build it. All residents pay to operate it. Some residents will use it. Building the center is estimated to cost between $10.2 and $11.5 million. Bond financing is anticipated. Although the consultant provides an operating cost analysis showing an excess of revenue over expenditures, they went on to say that there is no guarantee these projections will be met, especially since they note that not all expenses were included. I do not recall seeing a line item for debt service. All of this raises several questions. What degree of risk does the project place Peters Township with respect to access to funds for unplanned and unanticipated expenditures, for example, public safety, public health, utilities, or infrastructures? How will council and management be able to fund expected and unexpected major and necessary expenses? What limit can council and management place on annual subsidies to cover operating costs? What do council and management anticipate as the millage increase to both manage the bond debt and the expenses? Does the cost of the center prohibit the near-term development of other park amenities stated in the plan? Even if this is affordable, is it really the right time to embark on a project of this magnitude considering COVID and the increased cost of living? Tabling this project is a better decision for the community. Please address these questions at council or via email before making a decision. Thank you.
Okay. And we have Senator, please state your name and address, please.
My name is Victor Vanderwater, 210 Ridgeview Drive. I'm here to talk about the aquatic center as well. I grew up in Peters, actually learned to swim in the high school pool, I started from the shallow end, and I gradually progressed to diving off the high dive. So I love the water, and I've been involved in water my whole life. I'd like to thank the council, Parks and Rec, and all the committees that have allowed us to purchase Rolling Hills Park and to leverage off the high school construction to grade the site for future pool facilities. However, I would like council to pause on moving forward with any other actions regarding the pool facility until it considers the following 3 points. My first point is the availability of a public pool facility to Peters Township residents for 12 months a year. I note that per the Rolling Hills Park Master Plan, the principal goal is to provide complementary recreation and resources to enhance what the township already has. As we sit here today, Peters residents do not have access to a public pool for 12 months. So how can council consider spending $11 million on an aquatic facility that is only open 3 months or less, depending on the weather? This is in light of a physically active residential community in Peters Township: tennis, jogging, biking. However, per your demographics report that is in the appendix of this, it's on the website, we all know that the aging of Peters Township residents is aging. We know that. There's less kids and people are getting older. All the people that have been doing these physical activities are going to need options to take stress off their joints as they get older. And what is the number one activity in terms of physical activity to stay fit? It's in water. It's either swimming laps, it's doing exercise in the pool. It's that water takes pressure off the joints. We have no options for 12 months of the year in Peters. Where are we going to go? All the way out to the Wellness Center in Washington, Upper St. Clair. So how can we think about a 3-month option when we don't even have a 12-month option? The Peters Township School District approved the new high school pool on May 29, 2018. As we sit here now, April 26, 2021, almost 3 years later, we, both Peters Township residents and this council, do not yet know the availability of Peters Township residents will have to use the high school pool throughout the year. Now, I have a long list. I know I have limited time talking about the history, and I went through all the minutes of this council and the Parks and Rec Department, and there have been people that spoke about, are we going to have access to the high school? And no firm answer is given. I actually see that various council members have talked about options of an indoor pool. All the way up until October 2019, in August, there was discussion about the survey, about how we should word the survey in terms of indoor pool versus outdoor. So obviously, council has thought about this issue. Potentially, maybe there's some writing on the wall about what is going to be the public's access to the high school. But there has been discussion. I noticed that the Compost Research Report, November 2019, the survey that was used to develop this final plan, questions 22 and 23 talk about, would you pay for membership if there was a year-round indoor pool? 50% of individuals said they would not. However, the same question, questions 17 and 18, referring to an outdoor pool, 42% say they would not pay. That variance is not that much. And in that survey, there was no specific question in that survey that said, do you wish to build an indoor pool, an indoor and outdoor combination pool, or just an outdoor pool? There was no very specific question, no question like that in the whole survey. In addition to that, if you're going to ask that question in a survey, it would be very helpful for the participants of the survey to know, state of fact, yes, you will have access to the high school pool on these terms. Therefore, please answer this question. Or, you will never have access for free swimming, etc., to the high school pool. Therefore, answer this question. You're going to get a much different answer, I believe. In terms of the survey as well, the survey was sent out, a random survey of 364 people, residents, random. That's 4.6% of the households of Peters Township, and it's 1.6% of the full population. So for you to interpret that those percentages represent the full opinion of the Peters Township community might be stretching a little bit, in my opinion. But I am not a survey expert, but that's an awful low percentage. In today's technology with the internet, I understand that survey was sent out with a code in the mail, people logged on. In today's technology, why couldn't we send that code to every single resident? It's all computer generated. and then we get full representation. So as of today, what happens if we ask the high school if we're going to have access and they say no? What is council going to do? I think the Parks and Recs team has done a very good job leveraging off of what the high school construction is doing. Why don't we ask the high school, hey, take that pool that you're just building, build me a second one right here. If the answer is no, I don't have access to the high school, build me a second one at $5 million, half the price, and I could use it for 12 months out of the year. I think that's something that this council should consider. Half the price, 12 months, versus double the price, more than double the price for 3 months. In addition, if you want to spend a little more money, you could do it southern facing. You could actually ask that southern facing wall to be 100% glass. You put some big barn doors on it, and in the summertime, open up the doors onto a patio. That could be phase one of this project for $5 million. Phase two, if we have interest, build something outside, more for the children. But in the meantime, you have a pool. And my understanding is the high school pool is going to be amazing. 8 lanes, a deep end, a shallow end, a diving pool, laps. It's going to serve everyone's need. And if you want to crank the temperature up to be a little bit warmer, then do so. But that single pool will serve everyone's needs, from exercise to lap swimming to potentially, if kids want to have birthday parties or hold events 12 months out of the year. So in closing, my first consideration, I would like to request the chairman, Mr. Ball, to please instruct a member of this council or a member of the township to please approach Peters Township High School Board and request a formal written letter to be shared with council and the public regarding Peters Township residents' usage on an ongoing basis of the new Peters Township High School pool, so the council can make a decision in the best interest of Peters Township residents regarding pool construction. This letter should state that I would feel that Parks and Recs would be more than willing to put budget dollars into lifeguards during that public time. And the time should be public time, not master swim program, not the swim club. This is time for the public to do lap swimming, the public to do recreation activities in the pool, and the public to rent out the high school pool in terms of a child's birthday party in the middle of December. And for most practical purposes, the letter from the Peters Township High School Board should be irrevocable, because you don't want the high school to say, yes, we plan to give the Peters Township residents this block of time per week, per month, and then 2 years later, the high school revoking that. So the letter from the high school should say when it expects to give the public time, how much time per week, and on what terms. My second point is due public process and due public representation. The variances between what was presented at a public hearing on April 29th, this plan, compared to what went out to bid, this plan is too great to proceed with without the opportunity for the public to vent their opinions and to council take into account. The April 29th design discussed 2 options of expanding a 4-lap pool into a 6 or 8 lane pool, and it showed the cost associated with that. That's all the variances that showed in the public hearing. The current design now has reduced the lap pool to 3 lanes and connected the lap pool to the main pool, and subsequently added a diving pond, climbing wall, lazy river, extra community rooms, and 3 slides instead of 2. I would call that a great variance that needs public views. Per the community comments from April 2019.
Sir, you're considerably over your time.
I just have a little, I'll be very quick, Mr. Chairman, if you can. So in general, I just would like some understanding of, again, why we engaged. We had a lot of public opinion going into that April 2019. We had people work long hours. We had an architectural firm, and all of a sudden, boom, we hired a brand new firm to do the final design. That final design was done, for the most part, during COVID. You know, during COVID, the public has not been able to get out. Word of mouth communication has basically been non-existent. People are not talking about things. So the fact that we've been dealing with COVID for the past 14 months, during these past 14 months is when this final design has been taking place. The council and the township should have had excessive efforts to get information out to the public. This has not been the case. Just 1 week ago, the design, April 20th, the design went up on the board. And in addition to that, I have not seen any detailed write-ups on the design in the Observer Report or the Almanac or the N. Peters magazine. I would think that a project of this magnitude should be a front-page cover of the N. Peters magazine with a letter describing why this new design should be sold. In addition, the website that just went up with all the information, there is no links or options for residents to submit feedback on how the new design should happen and if they're for or against it. I understand that council charter has a new bond issue, and if they do a new bond issue, they require a public hearing. I would like to request council convene a public hearing on the new design, cost when available, and operational cost prior to the bond and tax hearing. Furthermore, as a history of the fact that building this pool has been so contentious over the years, it's been split 50-50, I would like council to consider two options in the future regarding voting on this design matter. To represent all residents of Peters on the contentious project, which will cost $11 million, which is likely to be the largest ever budget approved by this council. I would like that option number one, all future votes on the final decision and build-out of the aquatic center be decided upon unanimous decision by this council, or at the minimum, a supermajority. Or to eliminate perceived conflict of interest, I would ask the three council members who worked on the final design working group to please excuse themselves from future voting. This is due to the fact that only a single design option was submitted to council, as well as the fact that 3 out of the 7 members acted on this working group, which is only 1 vote shy of a majority at council level. Of course, if you work on a design committee, you're going to vote yes on the design. My final point, and I'll be very quick, is timing. Very similar to what the comment was before me, is based on COVID. Is it the right time to do this? We still have 70-plus cases every day in Washington County, more in Allegheny. Pennsylvania is still a hot spot. We have new cases, breakouts in the UK, France, Brazil, and India. So we are not out of the woods yet, economically or from COVID. In addition, if you look at your new design, there are a lot of surface areas on this new design which do not touch the chlorinated water. So therefore, if COVID continues, there's going to be a lot of requirement for manual wipe downs. So the question is, what is driving the fact that we want to get this project done so fast and in a hurry without public opinion? Is it the interest rates? I noticed something in some of the minutes. Is that the true case? So in closing, what is the push to put the shovels in the ground? I am 100% for building an aquatic facility. 100% for doing this. However, let's do it right. Let's get the answers on the community access to the new Peters Township High School pool. Let's take a look at the new high school pool. Maybe you want to do another one for the same price, $5 million, right next to it. Let's get the community input into the latest design, construction cost, and operating cost. And then let's make a decision based on the highest standards of corporate governance principles to reflect the community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Your very good remarks. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is unfinished business. There being none, we move to new business. First item is a special permit request by St. David's Episcopal Church for the purpose of authorizing the Township Farmers Market from June 2nd to October 27th.
Is this the same as past years?
Yes.
And I'll move that we approve the special permit request by St. David's for the purpose of authorizing the farmers market from June 2nd, 2021 to October 27th, 2021.
Second.
Discussion? Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Special permit request by Confluence Financial Partners for the purpose of authorizing a coffee truck on July 22nd from 9 to 11.
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Award of a contract for asphalt under the Shaycog Cooperative Purchasing Alliance program.
So the South Hills Area Council of Governments opened bids for spring commodities on March 12th. Including the bid was a bid for bituminous surface material, which the township intends to purchase in excess of $25,000 in 2021. There were 4 vendors who submitted bids from 10 different asphalt plants. Only 2 of the vendors have asphalt plants close enough to proximity to Peters Township. These are the same 2 firms that we issued contracts to last year. The reason why we issue 2 contracts is that sometimes the plants aren't open and we need the ability to be able to get access to asphalt as needed. So it's going to be my recommendation that the Township accept the bids from Lehigh Hanson Aggregates in Eurovi, Atlantic Coast for bituminous materials at the specified unit prices.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Authorization to exercise second option year is provided for SHACOG Cooperative Purchasing Alliance Program for the rock salt contract.
So Peters Township actually issues 2 contracts for rock salt. We do this because in years past, when we only issued a single contract, we found ourselves at times unable to acquire rock salt from the single vendor. So we participate in the SHACOG program, and we also participate in the CoStars program. The CoStars program, the tonnage cost is substantially less than it is under the SHACOG program. Our intention is, because we have to specify the amounts, the quantities that we purchase, is to commit to purchase more under the CoStars program. But having said that, we still want to issue a contract or extend the contract at SHACOG so that we have access to availability from that supplier. So it's going to be my recommendation that you authorize a second-year option.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Is the CoStars one, that's extensible each year?
What's that?
CoStars is extensible each year. We don't have to extend that?
No, we don't have to do that. It actually gets bid out each year, I believe.
Award of a contract for landscaping services in support of the 2021 pavement maintenance program.
So one of our challenges have been over the years is the restoration of lawns. So we've attempted to do this in a number of different ways. What Mr. Zemaitis had wanted to do this year was to remove it from the paving contractor's bid and to make sure that we get a landscaping firm to do it. We went out to bid. We received 4 bids. The low bid is A. Liberoni, and although they may be the paving contractor, what A. Liberoni was and still is a landscaping company. And it's my recommendation that we award a contract to A. Liberoni for landscaping restoration as part of the paving program.
Second.
Did Stash Contracting just read the bid specs?
I mean,
170.
we get it all the time.
That's not even close.
I wouldn't spend a lot of brain power to interpret that. I would just skip it.
So this is just for
This is topsoil
planting
behind the
grass
curb
and
planting grass.
topsoil.
Yeah.
When we rip up the,
When we mill off the old curves and put in new
Yeah.
curves, there's always a gap.
Right,
in the lawns and
right.
just in backfill and seed
Okay.
topsoil. So
Okay, moved
it's a
and
lot of
seconded.
work.
Moved and seconded. Is there all in favor?
Aye.
Could I ask a question, please? I apologize for not getting in before your call for a vote. So please explain, just so we understand, you bid this separately. How does the separate price for paving plus the additional price for landscaping equate to what we normally did in the past where we paid one price?
It's about the same. We got the same unit prices from the ground that we typically get inside of the bid. We didn't really do it to save money. We did it to get a better product.
Right.
We find with a lot of these paving contractors, they're really not interested in going back after they finish the road program to spread the topsoil and seed. Last year was kind of the last straw. We just had so many callbacks on grass not growing and residents, unhappy with it. But we wanted to try this year, so.
Yeah.
One follow-up question then. So this is based on linear footage. So how much linear footage is damaged and then how much is replaced? So the people who are paving are damaging and then they're going to be replacing. Is the number you quote a not to exceed number? Or is there a potential that it'll come in less if they are really, really neat and don't damage as much?
There is a potential for that. I mean, we estimate based off of experience with past road programs. We find that typically about 75% of the curves we touch up. And so that's kind of the number we have. And there's some years it's 60%, a lot less, some years it might be 80%. But it's usually not much more than the 75, so we do our best to just try.
So the contract's not exactly for this number. It could be potentially
Generally,
less, or it
it's
could be.
generally, correct.
Okay, so that's the way the wording of the contract will be. Thank you for clarifying.
Good. All right, next item, resolution.
We do have to vote now that I interrupted you.
I don't think we voted.
We did not vote.
Oh, I thought we okay, in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Resolution renaming a portion of East McMurray Road to East McMurray Court.
Well, driving over here, I saw that the East McMurray Court sign is already up, so I'll make a motion that we have approved resolution number 01-04-21.
Yeah, I would like to say.
We make it retroactive?
Second.
I would like to point out that one of the things that the planning department did was to reach out to the 9 residents who live along the street, and because of Ed working with the post office, their mail's going to get delivered regardless of whether it changes immediately from court to street. And as a result of that, we got no comments back on this. So
Well, nobody's number's changing, right? It's
nobody's number's changing,
Right.
so you only have to change your license when it gets renewed as opposed to having to go out.
Not
to
exactly. The letter was good because it explained that there are other things they do need to pay attention to.
Yes.
Their mortgage, their insurance, their other things. So
Yeah.
there is work that the residents have to do, but you
Yes.
informed them very nicely.
It's moved and seconded. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Approval for recording purposes. Nemur consolidation plan is shown on drawings prepared by J.R. Gales and Associates dated April 1, 2021 for John A. and Kathleen O. Nemur.
So all we're doing here is combining 2 lots into one?
Yes.
All right.
So why is a lot address being added instead of a lot address being subtracted?
You just have one address. I think the address is going to be 19 Route 1 through Circle.
And so it was removed. There was no address put on the original plan, which is why
Is that what the story is?
Yes.
Okay, that explains it. Thank you.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve for recording purposes the Nemur consolidation plan is shown on drawings prepared by J.R. Gales and Associates dated April 1, 2021 for John A. and Kathleen O. Nemur.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Request to waive prohibition against subdivision for Lot 2 in the Rebel Plan of lots located at 400 Turkey Foot Road.
So on April 13th, 2020, Peters Township had received a request to subdivide this parcel into 2 lots. And at the time when that subdivision, and the reason why it came to here for special consideration is that you cannot create additional driveways on a collector street. So what council did was, and as it often does, is that it created a condition that said, we'll permit this, but we won't allow for additional subdivisions on Lot 2.
That was a requirement.
That's not a requirement. It's a condition that council that placed. What they've now been approached by somebody interested in buying the property for building 2 homes for children. Oh, is that what this is? Yes.
Both my children.
And the thing is, quite honestly, had this plan come in this way when it was first submitted, you would have gotten a recommendation from the staff to approve it this way. So what they want to do is to create 2 lots with a shared driveway. One of the things I think we would make a requirement is that driveway, as it's shown here, be aligned off of Sagewood, so that in fact you have a plus intersection there. The reason it's in front of you tonight is not to take any formal action, but rather than have people spend money and time engineering this, if council's not willing to waive that provision, you can't move ahead with this. And they can't move ahead with this. If you're willing to do that, they have to go through the planning commission and come back here and have approval of the plan as well. So, like I said, if this would have come in this way when it started, and there was a single driveway with 2 lots, it would have been our recommendation that it be approved.
I don't have any issue with it. I mean, each lot's still going to be 2 acres in size. You got one driveway coming down. I'm presuming then whatever approval is going to come through is obviously going to have some mutual maintenance agreement and everything else that we typically put on shared driveways. So I mean, I don't know how anyone else on here feels, but if I were deciding it, I'd vote for it.
Well, and the thing that we will require is that same, I think is reasonable to require, is that same restriction that these not be further subdivided, so you don't end up with.
Yeah, but based on the way that's laid out, I don't see. I mean, absent someone coming back 30 years from now demolishing those 2 houses, I don't see how else you could subdivide that. If presuming those houses are built where they're shown on that plan.
The rule for the collector road prohibition, is it based on traffic, or what is it based on? Because 2 houses means double traffic, so why would we think this would be okay? Just help me understand. I'm not saying no, I just want to understand.
Somewhat based on traffic, and it's to avoid having like 6 driveways coming out onto that road.
Yeah.
If you're funneling one driveway for 2 homes onto this road, then it's not a problem. I think the provision is to avoid having multiple driveways along collector roads.
And the perfect example of this is on the other side of Turkey Foot. It's to avoid that situation where along Turkey Foot you have driveways, if you're coming up over the hill on the left-hand side, you have all those driveways. It's to avoid that and all that traffic coming out onto the collector road.
I don't have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem either, but it is, I mean, we just proved this not all that long ago. We had a condition to the approval.
So the properties will be distinct though, right? And they will have to have 2 separate addresses.
Yes.
And then they'll have to battle it out with some sort of agreement
And
as siblings if they get along until they don't get along.
They're getting a house out of it. They
they're not
are.
going to come back in another year with another request, are they?
Well, yeah, but like I said, I don't see how they could.
Also, I'm assuming this has to, again, go through the process.
It's gotta go through the
planning,
yeah.
whatever. Okay.
Through Peters Creek, through the subdivision process.
I'm fine with it.
The only requirement is
Well, good luck.
no more changes.
Because we won't change our mind
Done.
next time.
Those 3
I do
stuff.
have 2 more kids, but they'll go elsewhere.
Yeah, forget that. Come live in Nordstrom,
Okay, anything else on that?
No.
It's fine with us. Award of a professional services contract for the purpose of determining the appropriate design for augmentation of the Peters Lake Park Dam spillway.
And I'm going to turn this one over to Mark.
He hasn't spoken in a long time.
Not from here.
We haven't,
Is that a picture from our drone?
you say we haven't talked about the dam spillway.
No, that is just, that's an aerial photograph from Google Earth, I think. But as council is hopefully aware,
Painfully aware.
painfully aware, I think 8 or 9 years ago, we were approached by the DEP through a letter to augment the spillway capacity at the Peters Lake Dam. The reason is the modern spillway design criteria is not met in this dam that was designed and built back in 1932 or 33. So we've been kicking this around on and off for 8 or 9 years, and what's happened in that time is the DEP, I'd like to think hopefully partially based on our desire to have them redo their precipitation study, but probably more likely all the other high hazard dam owners in the state also had a major problem with the way they define their maximum probable precipitation, which is the design criteria for the dam. So long story short, there's other states adjacent to us, Ohio being one, that have redone their study, and it's lowered that precipitation value that you need to design to. The state spent a couple years in going out for RFP, engaging a hydrologic consultant. They finished that study last year and they adopted the study. So what's happening now is they're, again, contacting all the high hazard dam owners in the state and saying, hey, we're done with our end of the deal at this point, so we're requiring you to start pursuing spillway projects again. So we got a letter last I think it was last April, in conjunction with our annual dam inspection letter that we get, just basically saying, we need Peters Township to get moving. So that's kind of what sparked us into action again. So back in January, we went out for RFP for design services for a spillway project. We accepted bids in February. We interviewed firms here in March. I put a rather lengthy memo here in the docket. Hopefully you've had a chance to read that. So I'll just summarize, our results here of the interview process. And the way the RFP was set up, I kind of set it up in two stages. Stage one was an alternatives analysis. First, we need to figure out what we can build here that will, achieve the capacity that we need. And there's several different ways that you can do that. So I think that's step one. We go through the process and we negotiate with the DEP on what needs to be built. Step two will actually be the hardcore engineering, the construction plans, the bid documents, specifications to actually build that, whatever the selected alternative is. So that's a little background. We had 5 firms respond to the RFP. 4 were definitely qualified, and we interviewed 4 firms. Each one had some pluses and minuses that I tried to summarize in my memo. The last firm that we interviewed, Rizzo International, it's a company that started here out of Pittsburgh. The owner's a CMU graduate. They specialize in dams. That's the bulk of their work, dams and geotechnical studies, so we were impressed by that. And I think the thing that stood out, at least for me, and I think I can speak for Mr. Lauer when I say this, was Rizzo seemed to be the only consulting firm that was sensitive to the fact that we have a project here that is going to cost several $100,000 no matter which way we slice it, and it's probably never going to be used. And I know that sounds jarring, but the fact is the existing spillway can handle 98% of the storm events out there. For instance, when we had Hurricane Ivan, speaking to Jay at Parks and Rec, who was out there monitoring the dam, he said, we still had a good 2 feet of freeboard above that level in the spillway that we could have used. So that tells me that 7 inches of rain with Ivan, it can handle a lot more than that. However, the PMP event is somewhere near 22 inches of rain, so we've got a long way to go. But the reality is, it may not act. We may build something that never activates in our lifetime, and that's just the reality we have to live with.
No, I mean, if current sediment trends continue, the lake's going to be filled anyhow.
Oh, yeah. But, so that, they were the firm that really brought that out and discussed that with us, that, they're sensitive to that fact, and they seem to be willing to go to bat for the township and negotiate with the DEP on some type of sensible solution. I've always had in mind, since that letter came out 9 years ago, the side channel spillway kind of to the left of that dam. In my mind, if we can make the numbers work, hydrologically, and it can handle the flow, that would be the cheapest thing. And that's ironically the same thought process that they had too, and they've done other projects that were similar. So we were impressed by that. We feel that they probably represent the best chance for us to get the most efficient, economical project. So I guess what I'm asking council to do is we would like council's concurrence to go to Rizzo and negotiate a contract for a scope of services and a price that would include basically just the alternatives analysis this time. We'd have to do all the hydrologic and hydraulic calculations, negotiate with the DEP, come up with some conceptual designs, pick an alternative. That's what I'd like to do now. And I think to go any further than that doesn't make sense, because we can't really negotiate scope and a price for something that we don't even know what we're building yet. So the first question we need to answer is, what are we going to build? And that's basically what we'd be going to Rizzo to negotiate.
So a couple questions. So North Germain, obviously, is it Cecil Township, is on the other side of the lake, right? So
I don't think it's Cecil.
because the spillways in our territory, we have to bear all the responsibility?
We own the lake property. Believe it or not, we own property in North Maine.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we own the other
Okay.
side of the lake in North Maine. So
Thank
we
you
are
for
the
that.
property owner. We own the spillway and the lake. Yeah, the original water company property, boy, I forget how many acres it is, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's 200 acres or something, yeah, it's.
So just another aside, I mean, refresh my memory, we agreed to give money to the Save the Lake Committee or something?
Different day.
Harrisburg Lake.
Yeah. And was that ever, do we ever spend that money? They haven't done any dredging, right? So we committed funds, I think it was $100,000,
Yes, you did.
and we've not given it to them.
Yes, we have. but you
Sure we
told us
have.
to.
Oh, we did give it to them. But they haven't.
They did do a project. We did like a 4-bay project at the upper end of the lake that's supposed to prevent more sediment from migrating into the lake. So I don't know, I know there were a lot, money expended on that.
Yeah,
I know there's still a long way to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, I would agree that we should move forward. I mean, obviously, we got an issue. Let's get it resolved.
But is that what this $60,000
Yeah,
is
I
for?
was going to mention that. We got a price from Rizzo in the RFP. The 4 firms that we interviewed, the price for the alternatives analysis for the scope that they envisioned in their proposals was really tight range. It was between $55,000 and $60,000, pretty much across the board. Rizzo was $61,645. So what I would say to council is, I don't anticipate the number going over that. I'd like to go back and sit down with Rizzo and really hammer out a scope that we think is needed, and maybe the caveat will be it's not to exceed $61,645. Maybe we can negotiate that down from.
Well, no.
But that's not going to get you a design.
That will not get us a design. That will get us a question on what we need to do.
It's going to get you a design concept. That's what I think you're going to
It's
get.
going to get us a design concept, and some of that design, some of that permitting effort will be done with this in terms of the H&H effort, the hydrology and hydraulics analysis. That'll be reused for the permitting, the hardcore dam permitting and construction design for the dams. So that won't have to completely start over again. A lot of the alternatives analysis can be used in the construction documents as well.
But I think one of the things that Mark understates is that the solution they're proposing is in the hundreds of thousands. It's a few 100,000, 200, 300, maybe 400,000. The solution that the other 3 firms that we interviewed are in the millions. And this, by far, is the most practical approach to solving this problem.
I was gonna ask the question, because you have a column here about estimated cost of final design and permit. And even with Rizzo being high now, their cost for that portion combined would be less than the other one. But now you're saying $1 million, and I didn't see $1 million anywhere in this.
No, I'm saying what they're talking.
Oh,
One of the
okay.
things when we had this discussion, we said, "Hey, you've looked at this. We've given you some background. What do you envision as a solution?" And the solution that 3 of the 4 came up with were spillways that will be millions of dollars to build.
Okay, so we're thinking that Rizzo can think out of the box and come up with something that is going to be a little bit more palatable as far as the number.
That, and we just got the sense from them that they did a lot of name dropping in the interview of DEP, dam safety personnel that they have relationships with, that we think that they could, set up a kickoff meeting, so to speak. And we just had a good feeling that they would really go to bat for the township to try to come up with a reasonable solution rather than just, well, hey, this works. It's going to cost $3 million, but it works. We want to go bang for the buck.
Well, I think the explanation sounds good. I'll make a motion that we authorize awarding a professional services contract in the amount of $61,645 not to exceed, if we can negotiate it, to Rizzo International to determine the appropriate design for augmentation of the Peters Lake Parks Dam spillway.
Second.
Other discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
It's good job on that, Mark. Okay, payroll and bills.
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed payroll and bills. Payroll this past period was just over $297,000. Accounts payable for the period with the recent checks is about $870,000. Primarily routine operating and capital expenses. There were some larger amounts, $28,000 for the website upgrades. Everyone seems to like. $68,000 for employee benefits, and $171,000 to waste management, and then some additional costs for equipment. Also, $297,000 for Kimmel Bogret's design of the aquatic amusement park. The credit card statement is over $19,500. I reviewed the accounts payable and pay report. I move that we approve the bills as submitted.
Second.
Other discussion? In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, correspondence, there is none. Anybody want to talk about any of the reports?
I had a couple of comments. If
Okay.
anyone else wants to go first? No? Under planning, thank you again for the comprehensive report and the list of permits. We have 11 new pool permits this month. Under engineering, I just wanted to clarify, you noted that they're moving dirt from the Arlecchino project and it's going to Valley Brook. I presume that's going on to the site that's being developed by Mr. Robinson, but it seems mostly it's on his part of the property. Am I accurate on that?
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Okay. Okay. And then Public Works, I'm glad they're expanding Pella Pits parking. Is there any potential that we could somehow install a mirror or something there to try to help people trying to get out of Maplewood? Because if you want to come out left, I don't know exactly what to do. It's just, it's a very blind turn, and it's got more traffic now, and I'm just a little concerned between people, more people parking and more development.
We had a request on that previously. That's a state road, and to put
Darn that state.
To put up that mirror would take the state. They are very reluctant to put them up because they're very difficult to maintain.
Oh, okay.
So what I have always encouraged people at Maplewood is, and then I can understand the concern, is to come around, to come back through the plane and come out, one of the other exits.
Yeah, but that might work for the people up at the top and the people at the low end.
I understand.
Like going
Yeah, that's a
backwards.
long drive.
Oh, and just one thing on the library. It seems like the circulation numbers have doubled. And I don't know, do you think that's related to the open, now that people can walk in and browse?
Yes.
And-
Yes.
Very good, very good.
Anything else from other council members?
I just had a question to follow up on what Monica said about the mirror thing. I understand it, but, there's that vacant lot to the left. And at one point, I think we talked about perhaps seeing if we could get the owner to cut that back a little bit like that. Is that something that we have the ability to force?
Well, that owner offered to donate that land to us.
Yeah, no, when we, I'm gonna have to go back and look at
Because I know
this,
who the
because
guy
there was
is.
an offer of this land, but there was a problem with that, and I forget what the problem was with that. We can look at that again, but in terms of, if it creates a problem, I think we can go in there and do something with it. But let me go back and check that, because it's been a while.
Now, wasn't there a lien? I thought there was a lien against it or something of that nature. Maybe I'm remembering
There was
incorrectly.
something like that where that we were taking on some type of liability.
That's what I
don't
thought,
remember
yeah.
what that was.
Well, if that's the case, we should just go in and clear it if that's. Yeah, if that would alleviate the problem, let's just go in there and cut the trees back, or if we have to
Or
bring
even
some
cut the
machines in and cut the hillside back. If it's a public safety issue,
Sure.
then
I'm sure that property came out of the tax sale. I
Yeah.
think I know who bought it, and that's what him and the other guy he's with, they're notorious for buying tax sale properties, so I'll bet you that's...
so that's probably what it was then.
It
I'll
might
tell you
be,
what,
yeah.
I will report back at the next meeting.
Okay.
One last comment. Thank you, Mr. Jarowski, for another nice financial report. I was surprised to hear the amount of money in the natural gas lease account, $875,000. Have we identified anything specific we plan to use that for? or is it
Yes,
just-
it's going to be part of the Rolling Hills Park project. That money has to be used. There was a court case in Pennsylvania with regard to money from gas leases on state-owned park properties, and a restriction that it be used for conservation purposes. Now, we're not sure that whether or not that applies to municipalities because it hasn't been litigated, but we've set aside that money and it's been earmarked for the Rolling Hills Park project. That's what it shows in the budget.
That ruling was with regard to state-owned properties, but
Yeah, but I think it was also limited to actual parks. So if the gas was being taken out of a park,
Yeah, but this gas is coming out of the park. This
this was stated.
is coming out of Peters Lake Park.
oh, okay, I thought we were talking about the other lease. We're talking about the
No.
Peters, okay, oh, then, yeah.
well, whatever, it's good to
Then-
use it.
Did we purchase that outright, or did we take that by eminent domain?
What's that?
Peters Lake Park.
We purchased it.
Well, we purchased part of it, and part of it was taken by eminent domain.
Because that could be a factor. I mean,
Right.
If the state comes in and takes something by eminent domain for the public purpose of providing recreational facility, I could see the court saying, well, if you make royalties, you got to use it for the same purpose. But that's why I asked. I mean, I don't know the
And
specifics.
it's not clear, and to what we thought, and having talked to John about this previously, we know we need to expend money in this area anyhow. Why not designate this money for that capital purpose? Because the intention always was to use the gas lease money for capital purchases.
Well, we could use it to make improvements to Peters
Use
Lake
it for
Park,
that.
right?
Yes.
And John's very familiar with that ruling because we used it in the Act 13 litigation. So.
Okay.
Okay. I just have one comment. Can we have a little quick update at the next meeting? Could you give us a status update of the earth moving status in the park?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah,
In fact,
I
I'll tell
mean-
you, what we might, we'll see whether or not we can get a drone up there. Maybe
Yeah,
we
that
can
would
get
be
some-
really good. I mean,
Yeah.
because a lot of people are asking, gee, I see all kinds of cuts and fills and things like that, but if we could get a drone and
Yeah.
a map or something, say,
Yeah.
hey, here's all the stuff we've done, it would be good.
Well, if you're up on the property, you can begin to see the roadways.
I
So
know.
we're to that
It's,
point where
it's
we ought to be
looking-
able to be able
it's
to.
looking like
And they
a lot of
cleared some
progress,
timber.
and-
I saw logs up there like
Yeah.
being,
Well, a lot of that is the white pine that was down against the homes. As you recall, we've actually had a couple of those trees fall on a garage and on another person's property, and the residents wanted those removed, and we've removed just about all of them at this point.
Okay, miscellaneous, you have anything, Paul? Okay, next
Could
items.
I, Mr. Chairman, one question? I apologize. So I was driving down Valley Brook Road past the waters, and I don't know if any of you are confused or disappointed with the sidewalk they installed. The point of having a sidewalk is to make the town center walkable. And the thing that bothers me is that it goes dramatically up the hill. So if you were actually coming from the corner and wanted to go buy some ice cream or walk to Washington Financial, there's really no way to do that. It doesn't connect near the other sidewalk on the opposite side. Is that designed the way is that built the way we thought it was going to be designed?
Well, it's built the way we approved it. To get down to the Friar Lane, it's going to probably require some steps or some sort of ramp, and we did not include that in their amenities that they were to.
Yeah, I think that's a missed opportunity. We talked about that being the town center and about them putting a sidewalk in, and I really feel that that's not.
What's wrong with the
certainly needed.
sidewalk? I'm confused.
Well, it goes up. If you
Yeah.
go, it goes up so we can get to the entrance of the building, which is, we know how common it is.
Why is that a problem?
Well, because
It
when you
doesn't
go
come down
up,
to-
there's
doesn't
no
come
way to
down
get,
the road.
can't get down to.
there's no walkway down
can't
onto
get
the
down
street to
to-
cross,
to,
because the other sidewalks,
Brook.
Jim, are in front
You
of
could if you walk
Brewster's.
towards your building and then cross down there. I think it's low over there.
It
You're only
doesn't,
supposed to cross at intersections anyway.
Well,
Right, but you can't because the sidewalk doesn't come down to the
we
intersection.
just put a bunch of money
Yeah, that's
into
what's
fixing the
here,
rest of them,
And then
Jim.
there's like a slug.
We just put a bunch of money into fixing these with the ADA accessible ways to get down and across, and that doesn't do it at all. And that's all I'm asking. Because to
I'll
me,
have to take
it
a look
doesn't,
at it. Looks
it
nice.
doesn't solve it. It doesn't look bad, but it
It's
doesn't
landscape.
solve address the issue.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get from Waters back over to your building, it's fine. If you want to stay on that side of Valley Brook Road,
It's
it's
okay.
fine. Right, exactly.
It's the other way that's.
Right, the other way's the problem.
Okay. Items for next agenda. All righty, well, There being nothing else?
You have an executive session?
Executive
Very brief.
Okay.
Yeah.